We going?
Recording? Yeah. Hi, Internet. I'm Chaz.
And I'm Dan. And this is Wine is Serious Business, episode 323, right? Did I get it right?
You did. It's not 223, it's 323.
Yeah. So we did one of our favorite grapes moments ago, Pinot Noir. We're back to our other favorite grape, Riesling. Talk about Riesling from Oregon today. A couple of our favorite producers. We're going to start out with Brooks. This is the Orchards Fold Vineyard. Brooks, starting in 2014, did a big series of single vineyard Rieslings. I bought a bunch of them thinking we'd do full shows of all of them side by side, but...
What year was this?
This is 2014.
But I'm saying that... when did they start doing a lot of single vineyard stuff?
I think they started then, and I think this was the first vintage they did, the huge lineup.
Okay, sorry.
Anyway,
I'm
so I bought a bunch of them, but then I also realized it's kind of impractical to do show after show of just Brooks wines. As kind of fun as that would be for us, it's not a lot of variety to put on the blog.
Sure.
But we're going to get two of them in here today, alongside a 2015 Riesling from Paetra, another one of Oregon's top producers. I think so. Some real high quality
Riesling, absolutely, yeah. Like his Rieslings are just absolutely superb.
Yeah.
And both, haven't tried anything else from him, so that's why I say that. So.
I guess that, yeah. Maybe a couple of... Anyway, yeah. High quality producers. We're excited to talk about these. Orchards Fold Vineyard, it's nice. They write on the back of the box. I can read off the label to you. One of your favorite features of Wine is Serious Business, I'm sure. Located in the heart of the Eola Amity Hills. It was planted in 2007. Dry farm, southeast slope, 590 feet in elevation. Home to some Geisenheim clones I'm not going to list. Only 75 cases produced, so rare stuff. And I will say I had this wine fairly recently and really enjoyed it. I hope it stands up tonight.
Awesome.
Smells like Oregon Riesling on the nose.
It does, but it's got like a sweeter aroma, almost like a little bit like whipped cream sort of thing going on.
I can kind of see that, but definitely like lots of ripe red apple going on.
Yeah, like an apple, sort of like an apple crisp or something with some whipped cream on it.
I can see it. Yeah.
This smells wonderful. It's got some of the like sort of oxidized apple components, but the apples have a really fresh aroma to them.
Yep.
That little hint of sweetness that's coming out of the nose. I mean, this says it's almost bone dry. Based on the
smells
scale
like it's
going to
be sweet, yeah.
But man, there's like this like really neat sweet aroma to the nose. It smells awesome.
Smells really good. Yeah.
Huh.
And totally dry on the palate. Great big fruit flavors. Those ripe red apples I was talking about coming in early. Get a little bit of that oxidized apple on the finish, and then a little pop of lemon. On the finish with the acidity.
Yeah.
But there's a great depth of flavor here. And personally, I'm really impressed to get that depth of flavor out of something this dry. Like, this is a really good example of what can be done with dry wines.
It's a really good point. Because initially, like the flavors are pretty straightforward to me. Like it's definitely very appley, red apples, maybe a hint of green apple, tending towards like Granny Smith into the finish. But there's this big pop of citrus acidity in the finish, and a long run out of length of flavor in that regard, and that's awesome. Cheaper Rieslings or Rieslings that maybe aren't made with higher quality will have sort of a finish that just sort of goes away after the apple flavors are there. This is got a fantastic finish. The acid on it is absolutely killer.
This is the 2014 single vineyard Muska Riesling from Brooks. Muska is a younger vineyard. Said these vines were only planted in 2011, so it's pretty fresh. Whoops.
Ooh,
but Brooks
change.
Brooks also makes Pinot Noir from this vineyard, which I'm pretty fond of. Whoa, that's a dramatic shift. Yeah.
Right? That is a completely different wine.
Yep. This said, 14. Yeah. I was gonna wait to surprise you with that. So this actually says it's a little less dry than the previous wine. So these grapes must have been super ripe when they came in. But as I was reading that, I'm like, my curiosity is in full drive. I got to see what this is like.
Totally.
So
let's do it.
Right. So I guess that'd be like a Trockenauschle, right? Like that's the.
Yeah, and I've had German wines
or high in GG, like
14%, 14
like,
plus, yeah. That's a normal thing.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't get the heat on the nose. I mean, and these are chilled down, I think, about perfectly. This is really right at the temperature I like to drink Riesling.
Yeah. There's really good fresh fruit, like melon aromas to this.
There we go.
Like it's like sort of cantaloupe, sort of like honeydew melons sort of aromas. I want to say pineapple, but it's not like.
I want to say like pears. So
okay.
like good pears and
Yeah.
Where they're in a really good spot where they're not overripe, but there's still good ripeness, like a suggestion of sweetness on the nose, but it's not heavy.
Well, like sometimes there could be like a stone fruity quality to this sort of flavor, flavor profile, and I wasn't picking up any of that. It's like just like literally melons, pear fruit, and maybe some apples. Really interesting aromas on the nose. So
a little icy, yeah. Wow.
High octane shit. No, the flavor profile definitely sticks to sort of like the orange melon, cantaloupes. Less sort of honeydew. I agree with the pear sort of profile, like flavor profile. Profile. I'm starting to slur my words apparently.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Have another glass of this.
The acid is actually in a nice place, and the sugar is really low, but the acid is in a nice place to deal with the amount of alcohol that you can sort of feel on the finish.
This is reminding me a lot of the stronger dry Rieslings I have from either riper German producers or Austrian wine. Particularly, I'm going to stick with the pear flavors that I got on the nose, where I feel like they're really well represented on the palate. And you get a good body of flavor, again, without that sense of sweetness. And I feel like both of these wines will really appeal to a lot of people who are looking for drier wines. Those of you who like those bigger, drier styles of Riesling, I feel like you kind of owe it to yourself to try this Muska Vineyard.
Such an interesting wine.
Yeah, because as an academic data point as to what Oregon is capable of doing, I don't think I've ever had I'll say I've never had an Oregon wine like this. Maybe some of the dry ones from New York are comparable in some ways, but this is super interesting. I really recommend anybody try.
You had brought this point up earlier. The only thing I could ever say this tastes like is like an Auschwitz Trocken from the Mosel, or what's the French Rangoon region that grows a lot of Alsace. Yeah. I've had GGs from them where it's like their or Grand Cru, right? Riesling from those vineyards where it's 15% on the label, and it plays this sort of dance between being really captivating and very complex, but there's a good amount of alcohol in there, and you can see it, you can feel it, but it's with being cold and being a white wine, it's really not that big a deal.
It's fascinating, yeah, and
this is fantastic. I mean, definitely worth checking out if you're interested. So last wine we're doing here is the Paetra 2015 Eola Amity Hills Riesling. Bill Hooper? Name right? Yeah. Cool dude.
Fellow Minnesotan.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Grew up in the city. Yeah.
But cool dude making some killer wine out at Methvin, he's using the Methvin facility.
Yep.
We really got trying his wines early on. Really got interested in his wines, and I think he's making some really interesting, compelling white wine here in the valley.
And some of the most intentional stuff with a lot of planning behind it. So he studied in Germany, came to Oregon, does all the farming himself.
And he posted multiple times made another pass through the vineyard, right? He's totally doing the sort of thing they do in Mosel or any sort of German picking where they take multiple passes to the vineyard to try to pick grapes at the optimal ripeness for the style of wine they're trying to make. Super time consuming.
So time consuming.
Incredibly hard.
Yeah.
Very labor intensive. You got to be so passionate about this to do that. And Bill's doing it.
Yeah,
here in Oregon.
He's working really hard, and I love introducing his wines to people because it's really, it's really something special, and I think he's really going to be so much fun to watch too. I can't wait to see the kind of wines he's going to be making after he's been doing it for 10 years.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
More like stones, a little bit of little bit of funk, or probably from the yeast. I think a little bit of yeasty character on the nose here.
Yeah, maybe some leaves or something the sort of bottom of the barrel sort of thing.
A little bit of barely ripe apples, kind of greenish, yellowish apples.
Yeah, the apple, Riesling, especially Oregon Riesling, has a very apple is something you get distinctly.
I think
most of the time. This is kind of a more fresher apple aroma to me. Honey crisp somewhere in there where it's got a good freshness. It's not Granny Smith. It's not red apple. It's got a great aroma. Past you get a little bit of lees and whatever.
Yeah, a little bit of funky, and I feel like that's something I've had in other younger Rieslings from other regions of the world too. Honestly, I'm not as fond of it right away, but I feel like that kind of fades and evolves over time, and it's kind of a sign of a wine that's designed to age a little bit too.
Okay.
That's what it clicks in my head anyway. See, I've got enough of this to.
Yeah, I'm sitting on fat stacks of this
yeah,
wine.
we'll see how it ages. Yeah.
Paetra wines back in the last couple of years, so yeah, pretty pumped. Anyway.
Definitely that little more that like richer character on the palate. Maybe a little bit of those lees, a little bit of roundness. Maybe that's some of that's probably coming from aging in the oak barrel too.
Sure.
Just a touch of oxidized character to the fruit there.
Yeah.
More driven by pears than apples, but I'm getting a little
Agreed.
bit of that. The fruit is definitely still fresh and crisp on the palate here.
It definitely pear driven. Like I was initially trying to think of like a flavor profile to go along with this. It's definitely more pear driven than apple driven, which is kind of interesting. I'm drunk. I guess where Paetra is incredibly interesting to me is that he's making some wines that are completely unlike others in the valley.
Yep.
Right, and I really appreciate that. Whether or not you agree with his wines, some of them I am fully on board with. Some of them I find less interesting. Regardless, it's like a completely different tangent for Oregon Riesling, and I love it. I think it's a fantastic. Bill, keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see where it goes in the future. I'm excited to see how these wines age. I'm excited to see what comes out year after year. So again, all three really cool wines to keep an eye on. This is why we do what we do, because we love tasting through this stuff too.
Yeah, I love
right?
it. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. To hundreds more episodes of Wine is Serious Business.
It won't change.
Nowhere else on the internet do you get coverage like this. Nobody else is doing this stuff.
We're getting drunk for you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
See you next week.